Captain Zara Blackstone stared out at the endless void, watching distant stars twinkle like scattered diamonds against the cosmic darkness. The UES Defiant had been pushing through uncharted space for 4 months now, farther from Earth than any human had ever traveled. Her crew of 52 was either composed of the bravest explorers in human history or the most reckless idiots to ever strap themselves to a fusion engine. Some days, she honestly couldn't tell which. "Captain, you need to see this," Lieutenant Marcus Webb called from his sensor station, his voice carrying that particular blend of excitement and terror that made veteran space officers break out in cold sweats. Zara reluctantly tore herself away from the hypnotic star field and made her way across the bridge. Her boots clicked against the metal deck, plating with each step, the sound echoing in the tense silence that had suddenly fallen over her crew. "Please tell me it's not another gravitational anomaly that wants to turn us into spaghetti, Webb. I'm getting too old for that kind of excitement." Webb's fingers danced across his console, pulling up sensor readings that made absolutely no sense according to everything they knew about deep space. His face had gone pale, and a thin sheen of sweat beaded his forehead. "It's artificial, Captain. Definitely not natural. We are detecting massive energy signatures, organized structural patterns, and what appears to be controlled traffic movements. Lots of them. Traffic movements." Zara felt her eyebrows climb toward her hairline. "In the middle of absolute nowhere? Are we talking about actual spacecraft here? Or has the isolation finally driven us all completely insane? Ships, Captain. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. All moving in coordinated patterns toward a central location approximately 4.2 light hours from our current position." The bridge fell silent, except for the steady thrum of the life support systems and the barely audible hum of the fusion reactor deep in the ship's belly. Zara felt her heart start hammering against her ribs as the full implications crashed into her consciousness like a runaway freight train. They had found it. After decades of searching the cosmos, launching probe after probe into the endless dark, humanity had finally discovered undeniable proof that they were not alone in the universe. Well, this is either the greatest discovery in the history of human civilization, or we are about to become the most spectacular fireworks display this side of the galactic core, Zara muttered, settling into her command chair. "Helm, reduce speed to 1/4 impulse. Let's not go charging in there like a bull in a china shop." Ensign Riley Martinez looked up from her navigation console with eyes as wide as dinner plates. At barely 23 years old and fresh out of the Space Academy, she was experiencing the kind of moment that would define the rest of her life. "Captain, shouldn't we immediately contact Earth Command? This changes absolutely everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe." "Everything indeed, Martinez. But first, let's figure out exactly what we're dealing with before we send a message that will take 7 months to reach home and potentially cause mass panic." Zara leaned forward in her chair, her command instincts kicking into high gear. "Webb, I want a full spectrum analysis of those energy signatures. Can you determine what kind of propulsion systems they are using?" "Already working on it, Captain. The readings are completely unlike anything in our databases. These ships aren't using fusion drives, antimatter engines, or even the theoretical exotic matter propulsion we have speculated about. It's something entirely different. The energy patterns suggest they are somehow manipulating space-time itself." Dr. Amelia Cross burst through the science lab doors like a woman possessed, her tablet clutched against her chest, and her usually immaculate brown hair looking like she'd stuck her finger in an electrical socket. Her eyes held that manic gleam she got when she discovered something that turned her understanding of the universe upside down. "Captain, you absolutely must see this immediately," she said, practically vibrating with excitement. "I've been analyzing the electromagnetic emissions from those vessels, and the patterns aren't random noise. They are communicating with each other. Complex, multi-layered information exchange using mathematical principles I can barely comprehend." Zara stood and walked over to Cross's science station, her tactical mind already racing through possibilities and potential consequences. "Are you telling me we are currently eavesdropping on alien conversations?" "Exactly. And here's the truly fascinating part. Some of the mathematical constants embedded in their transmissions match our own. Pi, the golden ratio, fundamental physics equations, even basic geometric relationships. They understand the same universal laws that govern our reality, which means they are not mindless space monsters bent on consuming everything in their path, Zara said, feeling a mixture of profound relief and bone-deep apprehension. But it also means they are intelligent enough to represent a genuine threat if they decide they don't appreciate uninvited human visitors. The Defiant continued its cautious approach through the star-filled void, and with each passing hour, the alien fleet became more distinct on their increasingly sensitive sensors. The sheer diversity was staggering. Ships ranging from sleek, organic-looking vessels that seemed to pulse with their own bioluminescent light, to massive geometric structures that completely defied conventional understanding of spacecraft design. "Captain," Webb called out, his voice tight with barely controlled tension. "We are being actively scanned. Multiple sources using technologies we can't even begin to identify or understand. They definitely know we are here." Zara felt her mouth go completely dry, as if she'd been chewing sand for the past hour. "Any hostile actions detected? Weapons systems powering up? Defensive shields activating? Please tell me they are not preparing to blast us into component atoms." "Negative on hostile intent, Captain. If anything, their scanning patterns seem methodical and scientific. Almost like they are conducting some kind of detailed biological and technological survey. Like we are fascinating specimens they want to study. Wonderful. We have become exhibits in a cosmic zoo," Zara said with the kind of dark humor that kept space crews sane during impossible situations. "Cross, any progress on deciphering their communication protocols?" "Some breakthrough, Captain. Their language system, and it appears to be multiple distinct languages from different species, uses advanced mathematical principles as its fundamental foundation. If I can crack the basic grammatical syntax, we might be able to establish rudimentary two-way communication." Suddenly, the main screen flickered to life with an image that made every person on the bridge gasp in simultaneous wonder and terror. A colossal space station hung in the void like an impossibly complex, jeweled spider web, easily the size of New York City. Hundreds of alien ships moved around it in perfectly choreographed orbital patterns, their various running lights creating a breathtaking constellation of colors that had no names in human language. "Sweet Mother of God," whispered Martinez, her voice filled with religious awe. "It's absolutely beautiful. It's also armed to the teeth with weapons systems that could vaporize our entire ship without breaking a sweat," Webb added grimly, his tactical scanners painting a sobering picture. "Whatever these beings are, they have had centuries or millennia to perfect their military technology." Zara studied the massive station with the calculating eye of a career military officer, automatically cataloging defensive positions, potential weak points, and viable escape routes. Old habits from her combat days died hard, and they'd kept her alive through more dangerous situations than she cared to remember. "Cross, how's that universal translation project coming along?" "Almost ready, Captain. I believe I have successfully identified their basic greeting and acknowledgement protocols. It's actually quite elegant. They are broadcasting a complex mathematical sequence that demonstrates understanding of advanced theoretical concepts. It's like a universal handshake between intelligent species. Do it. Send humanity's first intentional greeting to an alien civilization." Cross's fingers flew over her console with practiced precision, transmitting a carefully crafted mathematical message into the void. The response came back within seconds. A complex pattern of lights, sounds, and electromagnetic pulses that filled the bridge with an otherworldly harmony unlike anything they had ever experienced. "They're responding, Captain, and the message content is remarkable. They are not just acknowledging our presence. They are extending a formal invitation for us to approach their station. They want to meet us face to face." The bridge erupted in excited chatter and nervous laughter before Zara raised her hand for immediate silence. "People, let's not forget we are dealing with completely unknown variables here. Yes, this is the most historic moment in human civilization, but it could also be the last mistake our species ever makes. We proceed with extreme caution and military readiness. As the Defiant slowly approached the alien megastructure, Zara couldn't shake the growing feeling that they were crossing a threshold from which there would be absolutely no return. Humanity was about to take its place among the stars, for better or worse, and she was the person responsible for making sure it went well. The station grew larger on their screens with each passing minute, revealing intricate architectural details that spoke of a civilization so advanced it made human technology look like stone tools. Massive docking bays designed to accommodate ships of every conceivable size and configuration. Transparent observation decks filled with what appeared to be gardens containing plant life in colors that existed beyond human visual comprehension. And beings, actual living alien beings, moving through corridors and chambers, going about their daily lives as if meeting new species was routine. "Captain," Cross said softly, her voice filled with wonder, "I'm detecting biosignatures from over 60 different species currently aboard that station. This isn't just first contact with one alien race. We have stumbled onto some kind of galactic diplomatic hub or trading post." Zara felt the crushing weight of historical responsibility settling on her shoulders like a lead blanket. Whatever decisions she made in the next few hours would define humanity's future among the stars for generations to come. She looked around at her crew. Young Martinez with her eager, hopeful eyes, Steady Webb with his reliable tactical expertise, brilliant Cross with her insatiable scientific curiosity. They were about to represent their entire species to the galaxy. "All hands, this is your captain speaking," she announced over the ship's intercom system. "In approximately 45 minutes, we will be attempting to dock with an alien space station of unknown origin and purpose. This is not a drill. This is not science fiction. This is absolutely real, and we are about to make history that will be remembered for as long as humanity exists. I want everyone to remember that we represent not just ourselves or this ship, but our entire species and planet. Let's make Earth proud." The Defiant continued its careful approach through the void, each moment bringing them closer to a future that none of them could have possibly imagined when they left Earth orbit 4 months ago. Whatever awaited them on that impossible station would change everything humanity thought it knew about its place in the universe. As docking procedures began, Zara found herself wondering. Were they about to be welcomed into a peaceful galactic community of equals, or had they just painted a giant target on Earth's back that would bring destruction down on their homeworld? Time would tell, and she had a sinking feeling they were about to find out much sooner than anyone was prepared for. The docking clamps engaged with a metallic thud that reverberated through the Defiant's hull like thunder, signaling humanity's official arrival at what appeared to be the galaxy's most prestigious diplomatic gathering. Captain Zara Blackstone stood in the airlock, her dress uniform crisp and her sidearm prominently displayed as per military protocol, flanked by Dr. Cross and Lieutenant Webb. Behind them, a security detail of 6 Marines tried desperately to look professional while their eyes betrayed the same mixture of raw terror and electric excitement that probably showed on her own face. "Atmospheric readings are remarkably compatible," Cross announced, checking her scientific instruments for the 4th time in 3 minutes. "Oxygen-nitrogen mix at optimal ratios, slightly higher humidity than Earth standard but well within human tolerance, and temperature holding steady at 22 degrees Celsius. Either they have specifically adapted their environmental systems for our physiology, or we are experiencing the most incredible stroke of luck in human history. I stopped believing in luck the moment we detected organized alien traffic patterns," Zara replied grimly, her tactical mind racing through possibilities. "They have been scanning us with technologies we can't even comprehend for the past 6 hours. They know exactly what we need to survive, right down to our respiratory requirements and temperature preferences." The massive airlock door began to iris open with a soft pneumatic hiss that sounded almost organic, revealing a corridor that belonged in the most fantastic science fiction movie ever conceived by human imagination. The walls appear to be constructed from some kind of living metal that pulsed with gentle bioluminescent patterns and colors that had no names in any Earth language. And the floor felt somehow organic beneath their boots despite appearing completely solid and stable. Welcome, travelers from the third planet orbiting the yellow star you call Sol. The voice materialized from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously, speaking flawless English with an accent that sounded like a mixture of Oxford British combined with something completely beyond human experience. A figure began to materialize directly in front of them. Not appeared from around a corner, not walked up from a distance, but literally materialized from what looked like crystallized starlight given physical form. The being was humanoid in its most basic structural configuration, but stood nearly 3 meters tall, with skin that shifted continuously between deep oceanic blue and liquid silver, depending on the angle and intensity of ambient light. Her eyes were arranged in a perfect diamond pattern across what might generously be called its face, gazing down at the humans with unmistakable intelligence and what appeared to be genuine curiosity. When it smiled, rows of what looked like perfectly formed pearls became visible where teeth might be expected. I am Ambassador Keth-Var of the Stellar Consortium, designated diplomatic liaison for first contact protocols with newly encountered sapient species. We have been monitoring your approach with considerable scientific and cultural interest. It has been precisely 17 of your Earth years since we last encountered a civilization making their inaugural venture beyond the boundaries of their home stellar system. Webb's hand instinctively drifted toward his sidearm before Zara shot him a sharp warning glance that could have frozen plasma. Ambassador Keth-Var, I am Captain Zara Blackstone of the United Earth Ship Defiant, representing the United Earth Space Command. We come in peace, seeking knowledge, understanding, and, well, if I'm being completely honest, we're not entirely certain what exactly we're seeking out here. The alien's laugh sounded like wind chimes dancing in a gentle summer breeze, somehow both musical and completely otherworldly. Honesty. How remarkably refreshing. Most species we encounter during first contact arrive with elaborate proclamations about their noble intentions and peaceful missions, while secretly calculating how they might exploit whatever resources and technologies they discover. Your straightforward candor is genuinely unusual among spacefaring civilizations. They began walking through corridors that seemed to defy every principle of architecture and engineering that humans had ever developed. Past chambers filled with beings that resembled living geometric shapes, engaged in incomprehensible activities. Others that looked like enormous insects performing complex technological tasks with precision that would make human engineers weep with envy, and still others that appeared to be composed entirely of organized energy held together by invisible force fields. How many distinct species are represented in this stellar consortium? Cross asked, her insatiable scientific curiosity temporarily overriding established diplomatic protocol. Currently, our collective represents 237 distinct sapient civilizations across this particular galactic arm, each contributing unique perspectives, advanced technologies, cultural wisdom, and specialized knowledge to our shared pool of collective understanding. Zara felt her knees threaten to buckle under the weight of that revelation. 237 separate alien civilizations, and humanity had been sitting alone on Earth for millennia, convinced they were the intellectual center of the universe and possibly the only intelligent life in existence. And what exactly do you accomplish here? Interstellar trade agreements? Complex diplomatic negotiations? Military conquest of unsuspecting primitive planets? Keth-Var stopped walking and turned all 4 of those alien eyes directly on her with an intensity that made her feel like a specimen under a microscope. We share, Captain Blackstone, knowledge, technological innovations, natural resources, cultural experiences, and most importantly, mutual protection from those forces that would bring harm to peaceful civilizations. The galaxy is vast beyond human comprehension and often incredibly dangerous. Alone, most species struggle merely to survive beyond the boundaries of their home systems. Together, working in cooperation, We not only survive, but thrive. They entered a colossal chamber that literally took Zara's breath away and made her feel dizzy with its impossible scale. It was like standing inside a living constellation, with representatives from dozens of completely different alien species moving between platforms that floated freely in three-dimensional space without any visible means of support. Some walked on various configurations of legs. Others flew through the air with wings or anti-gravity technology, and a few seemed to swim through the atmosphere itself as if it were water. This is our central council chamber, Keth-Var explained with obvious pride. Today's session is particularly significant and interesting. We are conducting discussions regarding the recent discovery of a new sapient species that has successfully achieved faster-than-light travel capabilities. Your species, Captain, a being that appeared to be the result of genetic engineering between a praying mantis and an ancient redwood tree, approached their group. Its movements surprisingly graceful despite its imposing size and unusual proportions. When it spoke, the words emerged as a complex series of clicks, whistles, and harmonic tones that somehow became perfectly comprehensible English inside Zara's mind. The humans demonstrate remarkable adaptation capabilities under pressure. It said in what might have been approval. Their spacecraft design philosophy is primitive but surprisingly functional. Their social organizational structures appear chaotic but show unexpected resilience under stress. Most fascinating are their problem-solving methodologies, which seem to embrace chaos rather than avoid it. "Excuse me," Zara interrupted, feeling somewhat insulted despite the diplomatic circumstances, "but did you just describe my entire species as primitive and chaotic?" The mantis tree creature tilted what might generously be called its head in a gesture that seemed almost apologetic. "Not as criticism, Captain Blackstone, as genuine admiration. Most species we encounter throughout the galaxy have evolved along predictable developmental paths, either becoming hyperlogical and emotionally suppressed like the Keth-Nari civilization, or purely emotion-driven and impulsive like the Veltheran peoples. Humans appear to be both logical and emotional simultaneously, which creates unpredictable but often brilliantly effective solutions to complex problems." Another alien entity, this one resembling a massive jellyfish constructed from liquid mercury that floated through the air like it was swimming, drifted closer to their group. "Your species exhibits paradoxical behavioral patterns that should be self-destructive but somehow result in progress. You wage devastating wars over relatively minor ideological differences while simultaneously cooperating on massive collaborative projects. You systematically damage your planetary environment while desperately working to preserve and protect it. You fear death above almost everything else while constantly risking your lives for complete strangers." "Yeah, well, we are complicated," Webb muttered under his breath. "Complicated?" The mercury jellyfish repeated thoughtfully, as if tasting the word. "Yes, that describes humans remarkably well. And complication, paradox, and contradiction often lead directly to innovation and breakthrough discoveries." Keth-Var gestured gracefully toward a raised platform in the exact center of the vast chamber. "The Consortium Council would like to extend a formal invitation to humanity. Not full membership. That requires years of careful evaluation, cultural exchange programs, and technological integration. But observer status, which would allow your species to learn about galactic civilization while we simultaneously learn about your unique contributions." Zara felt the crushing weight of historical responsibility settling on her shoulders like a mountain. She was being asked to make a decision that would fundamentally affect every living human being, present and future, and she had exactly zero legal authority to make such momentous choices on behalf of her entire species. I genuinely appreciate the offer, Ambassador, but I'm just a military ship captain on an exploration mission. I cannot and should not speak for my entire species or make commitments that will affect billions of people. But you can speak for yourself, your crew, and those who authorize your mission and sent you to explore beyond known boundaries." Keth-Var replied with what seemed like gentle understanding. True leadership often begins with individuals who are willing to take the first crucial step into unknown territory. Cross stepped forward, her scientific mind racing with possibilities. What exactly would observer status entail for humanity? Comprehensive cultural exchange programs between our civilizations. Carefully monitored technology, sharing designed to prevent dangerous applications or cultural contamination. Access to our vast libraries of scientific knowledge and historical records. Most importantly, protection from hostile species that might view your developing world as a potential target for exploitation or conquest. Hostile species. Webb asked sharply, his tactical instincts immediately flaring to full alert. A new voice answered. Deep, resonant, and carrying unmistakable undertones of barely controlled violence and predatory satisfaction. Oh yes, there are definitely hostile species throughout this galaxy. The creature that approached their group was clearly designed by evolution for warfare and conquest. Standing over 4 meters tall, its body was covered in what appeared to be natural armor plating that had been scarred by countless battles. Multiple arms, ending in claws that could probably slice through reinforced steel, moved with predatory grace, and its eyes glowed with an inner red fire that spoke of violence as a way of life. When it smiled, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth designed for tearing flesh, the temperature in the chamber seemed to drop several degrees. I am General Thrak-Zon of the Korthak Empire, it said, its voice like grinding stone mixed with distant thunder. And I opposed humanity's inclusion in this council from the moment your species was discovered. The tension in the chamber immediately ratcheted up several dangerous notches. Zara could feel her security detail shifting into combat readiness behind her, hands moving closer to weapons while trying to maintain diplomatic appearances. Why exactly do you oppose our inclusion? She asked, proud that her voice remained steady and professional despite her racing heartbeat. Because humans are warriors by fundamental nature, not by choice, training, or cultural development, but by genetic and psychological programming. Your species has never experienced a single day of global peace throughout your entire recorded history. You wage wars constantly over everything imaginable. Natural resources, religious beliefs, territorial boundaries, ethnic differences, political ideologies, and sometimes simply out of pride or boredom. You are walking, breathing chaos incarnate. And that's necessarily a bad thing, because Thrak-Zon's laugh was like an avalanche of boulders tumbling down a mountainside. Bad? No, Captain. That's precisely why you are so incredibly dangerous to establish galactic order. Most civilized species fight only when directly threatened or when survival is at stake. Humans fight because it's Tuesday and they have nothing better to do. Your military tactics are completely insane, utterly unpredictable, and terrifyingly effective against opponents who expect logical, conventional warfare. Keth-Var intervened smoothly before the conversation could escalate further. General Thrak-Zon represents a minority position within the Council. Most member civilizations view humanity's martial tendencies as potentially valuable assets rather than existential threats to galactic stability. What kind of assets? Zara asked carefully. The galaxy is not always a peaceful, civilized place, Captain, the ambassador explained with obvious regret. There are aggressive species that respect only superior strength. Vast regions of space controlled by hostile entities that prey on weaker civilizations, and ancient threats that periodically emerge from the galactic core, bringing destruction and chaos. Having allies who are naturally gifted at unconventional warfare and tactical improvisation can be enormously beneficial for collective defense. Cross looked troubled by the implications. Are you suggesting that you want humans primarily as soldiers and military assets? We want humans as humans, Keth-Var replied emphatically. Your boundless scientific curiosity, your remarkable adaptability under pressure, your tendency to discover unconventional solutions to seemingly impossible problems, your cultural diversity, your artistic achievements. Yes, Your natural martial abilities are genuinely impressive, but they represent just one fascinating aspect of what makes your species unique among galactic civilizations. The floating mercury jellyfish drifted closer again, its liquid form shifting and rippling with what might have been excitement. Humans do not simply fight when necessary. They improvise creative solutions. They adapt to changing circumstances faster than any species we have encountered. They refuse to accept defeat, even when pure logic dictates that surrender is the only rational option. These psychological traits have applications far beyond military conflict. A new alien voice joined the conversation, this one sounding like crystal bells ringing in harmony. The speaker appeared to be made entirely of living light that had somehow achieved solid form, constantly shifting through spectrums of color that human eyes could barely process. We have observed human behavior patterns through your electronic communications and entertainment media, it said. Your species treats impossible situations as interesting challenges rather than insurmountable obstacles. When faced with extinction-level problems, humans typically respond by becoming more creative, more cooperative, and more determined rather than surrendering to despair. Another being approached, this one resembling a massive crystalline spider with faceted eyes that reflected light in impossible ways. Human emotional responses are particularly fascinating. You experience fear, anger, sadness, and joy simultaneously while making critical decisions. Most species compartmentalize emotions or suppress them entirely during crisis situations. Humans use emotional intensity as fuel for problem solving. Zara looked around the vast chamber. It being so alien, they challenged every assumption about life and intelligence, all focused intently on her small group of humans. The responsibility was absolutely overwhelming, but she realized with startling clarity that she had already made her decision. "Captain," Webb said quietly, moving closer to her position, "whatever you are thinking about doing, please remember that we are vastly outnumbered and completely outgunned by technologies we don't understand. Since when has being outnumbered and outgunned ever stopped humans from doing something completely stupid and somehow making it work?" She replied with a grin that her crew would later describe as either inspiring or terrifying. Turning to face Keth-Var directly, she straightened her shoulders and assumed her most formal military bearing. "Ambassador, on behalf of the crew of the United Earth ship Defiant, and pending official approval from Earth's governmental authorities, humanity formally accepts observer status in the Stellar Consortium." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sounds that might have been applause, heated discussion, or serious argument. It was impossible to determine with so many different species involved, each expressing reactions in completely different ways. "Excellent decision, Captain Blackstone," Keth-Var said with obvious satisfaction. "Your first assignment as official observers will be to return to Earth and begin preparing your species for formal contact with galactic civilization. We will provide you with advanced communication technology, basic defensive systems, and comprehensive information databases. The universe is about to become exponentially larger and more complex for humanity." General Thrak-Zon stepped closer, his imposing presence radiating controlled menace. "A word of warning, human. There are species in this galaxy that will view your world as either a threat to be eliminated or a resource to be exploited. Your acceptance of consortium protection makes you targets for those who oppose our influence." "Are you threatening us?" Webb asked, his hand moving openly toward his weapon. "I am preparing you for reality," Thrak-Zon replied. "The galaxy is not a safe place for newcomers. Your species will need to prove itself worthy of survival among civilizations that have existed for millions of years." As they were escorted back toward their ship through corridors filled with impossible architecture and unimaginable technologies, their arms loaded with alien devices and information storage systems that would revolutionize human understanding of science and engineering, Zara couldn't shake a mixture of excitement and dread about what lay ahead. "Captain," Martinez asked as they prepared for departure procedures, What do you honestly think Earth's reaction will be when we return home with news that we are not alone in the universe and that we have just joined some kind of galactic United Nations? Complete panic, religious upheaval, scientific revolution, economic chaos, political meltdowns, wonder, fear, excitement, and probably several wars over who gets to control the alien technology, Zara replied with brutal honesty. In other words, a perfectly normal human response to discovering that everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe was completely wrong. The Defiant slowly undocked from the impossible alien station and began its long journey back toward Earth, carrying news and technology that would fundamentally transform human civilization forever. Behind them, the consortium station continued its ancient orbital dance around distant stars. Now, with one more species added to its vast catalog of galactic civilizations and one more set of problems to solve, humanity was no longer alone in the universe. Whether that revelation would prove to be humanity's greatest triumph or its most catastrophic mistake remained to be seen. But knowing humans and their talent for turning impossible situations into opportunities, Zara thought, with dark amusement mixed with genuine pride, it would probably end up being both simultaneously. The stars ahead held infinite possibilities, infinite dangers, and infinite opportunities for a species that had just discovered they were part of something vastly larger than they had ever imagined. The real adventure was just beginning.